Good morning. I'm Andrea Ferguson. I'd love to know that you're here with me today. If you could just type in into the chat that you're here watching live, you can hear me. And I didn't get a chance to go walk outside this morning. And I realized there's something that I need to do. And that is, you hear these birds? I need to go outside. I need to take a walk outside. So I'm going to change. I'm going to change these lives to be just an hour later at 8 a.m. Central Time. And the reason for that has a lot to do with actually what we are talking about right now, which is essentially how to make your brain safe so that when it talks to your body feels safe so that you get the maximum out of your life. Because if you are in fight, flight, or freeze, or shut down, or you're in any kind of position that is not optimal, you can be sure it's because you don't feel safe. So, again, welcome to the show. My name is Andrea Ferguson, and I know that there's a few things that we want, namely to be happy, to be safe, to be okay, to be loved. There's some things that we want even more, which is health, wealth, and freedom. So welcome to the show. Let's dig in. First of all, go to andreaferguson.com if you haven't already. Sign up for daily affirmations, mantras, and regulation tips. I strongly believe that if we can learn to regulate our nervous system, we will win more business, we will keep our clients, we will grow ourselves. And that is a result of being able to have the capacity to hold everything that comes your way. Wealth is emotional. We have to stay operational. So, getting right into it, as I said, um, really, this is all about understanding that it's not negative. It is not negative to look at the science behind what is happening in your brain and to accept and face the facts, which are that your brain isn't sabotaging you on purpose, but it does actually protect you from what does not feel safe. Unfamiliar success can actually be safe. Unfamiliar success can feel unsafe. And as you would imagine, that is a problem for us because we all want to be successful. Yesterday, I talked about why it's important to reframe the way you look at success, not in this binary way of winning and losing, but what it means to succeed, which is to fall in love with the process, which is to find safe ways to try new things, which is to push yourself, but be repetitious in how you get to that level. And so today, what I want to show you is how your brain is built to your brain is built to predict, unfortunately, not progress. So there's a little bit of negotiation we have to do with our brain. And I'm just going to check in on the chats here. It looks like I'm going to switch over. Have some patience with me today, please. I appreciate you being here. I really do. And make sure you DM me if you want to connect or you want to talk. All right. Looks like we have. Okay. I don't know. See, something is going on. I can't pull in my chat, but I do see David is saying, this is absolute fire. The brain may be brilliant, but it is also a master illusionist. And that's true. That's because we are wired for survival, not success. That freeze we feel isn't weakness, it's biology throwing some. Okay. So yeah, we get the idea. Our biology tries to work against us. You know what? I have an industry friend who is a very high performing individual, entrepreneur, and she said something that I think is very important that I need to do a live stream on, or maybe even a YouTube video on as well, which is that women are biologically disadvantaged um, for business. And I know that there is a lot of people out there that are probably going to fight me and say, no, Andrea, that's not true. We're all equal. We're all wired to do the same things. And that's not actually true. The biological makeup of a woman's brain and a man's brain is incredibly different. And we only talk about it on the kind of sensual, sexual level. But the truth is that even when it comes down to business, we're wired very differently. We're wired differently in the way that we focus and what drives us. A lot of us who are successful entrepreneurs that are women have had to, quote, tap into our masculine. And there's ways to do that. And there's ways to do it unsustainably. There's ways to burn yourself out because you're not wired in the same way. But I really wanna tap into that, the neuroscience around how we perform, okay? And I want you to understand, it's not a bad thing that your brain tries to protect you, because after all, it just wants you to survive, right? The issue comes when you don't do anything consciously to help your brain understand, I am safe, I'm okay, I am loved. And there's a lot of things we do to downplay our success, meaning we're just a little bit too lazy, or it's maybe not our cup of tea. But if you just sat down for 5 minutes to journal, you would be surprised at how it regulates your nervous system, how you're able to think clearer, how different parts of your brain do or don't light up that make your body feel safe. So that what? So that you can succeed. Okay. So I'm going to go through and pull up my cool brain here. I just want to check once again. There's too many platforms to go over. I'll just trust that if you have anything to say, you will include it on here. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate that. All right. So first of all, let me share my screen. Bear with me. Here is a 3D image of your brain. And you can go to brainfacts.org if you want to play around and look at it. I am actually thinking that I am going to get I love the brain so much that I'm going to get a brain, like just like a molded brain, not a real brain, but a brain, so that I can talk about it a little bit more. So, welcome to the brain, the command center of the human body, weighing just 3 pounds. This little guy controls everything from the beating of our hearts to the storage of our memories. One moment, please. Okay, so what I'm interested in seeing actually is the amygdala, small almond shaped part of the brain that works with your hippocampus to create long term memories of specific and often emotional events. This is called episodic memory. It's particularly known for linking fear, aggression, and anxiety to knowledge of people or places. Damage to the amygdala reduces aggression, but also makes it difficult for people to avoid painful or threatening situations. This is why we are. Shankar just said, I am your brain. Can I tell you why this is funny? Because this is partially true. And I'll have to check out the neuroscience behind it. Before I traveled with Shankar Ponsale, I was 100% responsible for all of everything, from packing my suitcase to holding on to my passport to knowing which gates to go to through the airport, and then thinking about where to go specifically from the airport to the place of lodge, to here to there. I knew all of the logistics inside and out like the back of my hand. What somehow what happened Somehow, inevitably, what happened was that Shankar really did become my brain. So now I don't have to answer these questions. I don't have to know what gate we're going to. I don't need to know what terminal. I don't need to know what the address is of our lodge. All of these things kind of fell out of my brain. And I am convinced that because I feel so safe, so okay, so loved, so certain that there are parts of my brain that have just turned off. That activity is no longer there. I don't feel any threat. Oh, cool. Okay, so it is pulling in the comments onto the stage. So if you have a comment, please do write it, and apparently we'll all see it on the side. But it's true. I no longer have to use certain parts of my brain, and that can be very, very dangerous. So, yeah, but it kind of shows you the strength of connection, right? And certainty and familiarity. And I don't have these parts of my brain that would be hyper vigilant and search to make sure, like, okay, we're not changing gates, we're not changing planes, we're not changing any of these things. I just feel so safe and so comfortable with you. So thank you, Shankar. I guess for better or for worse, thank you. That I only have to use 2 brain cells when I'm walking through the airport with my sippy cup. All right. So the brain, so this is the amygdala. So you let me talk about that. Now you know where it is. Okay, so this is the brain cerebral left, and I actually wasn't looking for this one. So let's look at the prefrontal cortex. All right, so the prefrontal cortex grants us executive function. Do not sleep on this right now. This is so important, okay? The ability to make complex and socially mindful decisions. The prefrontal cortex must filter out unimportant sensations, focus on our attention on the task at hand, and contextualize our decisions with memories of the past and predictions about our behavior that will influence the future. Behaviors and personality traits unique to humans often depend on the prefrontal cortex. Something we got wrong in science was thinking that all of the development happens like by 18 or 21 and that's it. But we now know more about neuroplasticity. We now know that your brain is capable of changing. We know that there are neural pathways, new neural pathways that can be laid or rerouted. And we also know just how affected we are when we get into scary situations. So the amygdala, let me show you that. So the amygdala is your threat protector. So you know what I'm talking about when I show that to you. And your prefrontal cortex, how did I get to the midbrain? The prefrontal cortex is all about planning. Okay. Now, the crazy thing is you want your prefrontal cortex to be online when it's supposed to. Oh gosh, am I getting boring? Is this interesting? Is this boring? Let me know. um, but this is important for planning. You want to make sure that this part of your brain is active and is online. And there are different things that you can do so that your amygdala doesn't override your executive planning. That's like putting the toddler in the front seat of the car at the worst timing. You want to make sure that you have your boss, the boss that should be the boss, planning, right? Now, what is interesting also, why did I type in habits? Because I'm thinking of habits. How do we instill habits? The basal ganglia. So, this is a group of brain structures that control voluntary movements, habits, behaviors, emotions. The basal ganglia is comprised of a bunch of structures that we don't have to go into. What you need to know is that there is a role. Okay. It's the intermediary between our higher thoughts, our sensations, our reflexes. So when people have Parkinson's disease, Tourette's syndrome, Huntington's disease, all of these problems can be traced back to the basal ganglia. All right. Now, Andrea, why does any of this matter? Who cares? I'll show you why. Because there are parts of the brain, if I can bring it up. Dun, dun, dun. Look what happens. Oh, I'm not sharing the right screen. Stop share. There are parts of the brain. Here we go. Unexpected uncertainty at outcome. Do you see the parts of the brain that are lighting up and negatively with unexpected uncertainty? Guys, this is change that's happening in our brains. Do you see this? Do you see the parts of the brain that are lighting up? This is crazy. This means, like, honestly, the moment the moment you consider doing something unfamiliar, like raising prices, showing up more, being more visible, launching a new product, the amygdala lights up. That triggers stress signals before logic even kicks in. And so the reason why this is important is because we have to understand, we really have to understand that when fear spikes, your brain is redirecting that blood away from the prefrontal cortex that I showed you. That's your logic center. And it's the reason you can't plan when you're panicking. Your prefrontal cortex has blood redirected away from it. Okay. And remember, I showed you your basal ganglia. If your nervous system has practiced avoidance or even shrinking, getting smaller for years, that gets logged as a safe pattern and your brain repeats it, not because it's helpful, but literally because it is familiar. So that means you have a trigger, old pattern, familiar outcome, trigger, old pattern, familiar outcome. And then because the brain is rewarding familiarity, it repeats trigger, old pattern, familiar outcome, reward, repeat, trigger, old pattern, familiar outcome, brain rewards familiarity, repeat. So what regulation actually looks like is not forcing yourself to do something. It's not hype. That's not where real success comes from. It doesn't come from uh, the win-lose scenario either. It comes from clarity, from regulation, from repeating the same actions over and over and over again, and in a calm way. Because if you are chaotic, your nervous system is going to be chaotic. When you have a stable, even like a stable heart rate, you perform better. So I'm always going back to Alex Honnold, the climber. And the really cool thing about him was that, again, I've had discussions, I've talked to people who seem to think that, and even neuroscientists that are very well studied and trained say, oh, this guy he doesn't have any fear. But that's not true. The guy does have fear. He has expressed either that or he's a liar, right? But by his own accord, if you watch his documentary, he has been fearful so much that he looked up at this vertical cliff and said, no way am I climbing that. There's no way. Why? It's 3,000 feet. It is a vertical cliff. That means there's like hardly any place to grab onto. And everything was doing its job in its brain, just maybe on a smaller scale than it would to us, because obviously he did end up climbing it. But he had to work up to that with familiarity, with 50 climbs with rope, with 10 years of preparation of doing that, with doing the same high kick every night for one whole year. That's 365 days. I'll show you a photo of him. I can't show the documentary because YouTube is going to not be happy with that. But I'll let's see. So here's his Instagram, and there he is, right? 8-year anniversary 2 weeks ago of him free soloing in this really crazy I guess that's as far as it'll let me move it in, but you can see the chalk on his hands. And that's all he had. Everybody else had a rope that was filming him, and all he had, see, they're filming him, which is also crazy. Like, that's also very, very daring. His friends, who would become his wife. And this is another project that he's doing, right? But it's not that he does not have fear. It's not that he doesn't have an amygdala, because I've seen it. I've seen it light up. It's just so small. And he has learned to calm his heart rate. He needs to have a calm heart rate, because what happens if you have all of your physiology working against you, right? Remember, the brain sabotages you not because it wants to kill you or to harm you. It wants to help you. And in its attempt to help you, it puts in everything in gear that would do the opposite of that. The reason he wears chalk on his hands is so that he doesn't slip. Well, if he has a sweaty palm, guess what? All that chalk is for nothing, because it's wet and he cannot stick onto, like, be the Spider-Man that he is being right now and stay on that vertical. Oof, and then he just falls, right? But he has a rope, so that's preparation. But every time he does that, he's training himself. I know exactly where I would fall. I know exactly where to do the kick. I know how and why to do these things, right? But that came with practice, and uh it came with his falls. It came with his first time of doing things. It came with activating all of these regions of the brain until he got familiar with it. So if you're ever frozen or you're stuck and you need a breakthrough, just understand that you're frozen or you're stuck or you're doing these things because you haven't created enough patterns to make your brain tell your body that you're safe. And it doesn't come overnight. It comes with repetition, it comes with habit. And I told you that Shankar is one of the best examples that I know, to the point where me as a super spontaneous person had to deal with it, had to understand. Here's him with his functional neurology certification, by the way, which, if you have any of the things he lists, chronic back pain, joint discomfort or tension, or balance and coordination issues, stress, anything, yeah, lingers in the body. And we know why, right? Because stress and trauma and all of that is not just held in your mind, it's stored in the body. Read The Body Keeps Score. If you don't believe me, you'll find out all about it. But we now have a way, because we've both been certified, to actually take that pain away, make sure that you are functioning optimally. So guys, go ahead and follow Shankar Ponsale if you're not already. DM him no pain if you're interested in getting a treatment. You can get it from both of us. But he is the definition of, like a rock, I call him, because he's maybe not a rock, but like he's a solid guy who you can always catch at the same Raggin' Place on Saturdays and Sundays, which is at La Panaderia on Broadway. Gosh, I hope nobody tries to go there. But if you do, you will most certainly catch us, because he's eating his torta, the same exact vegetarian sandwich with avocado and this and that. So much to the point where when we walk in, everyone knows exactly what we want to order. They apparently feel safe in preparing it as soon as they see us walk in. And this is, I've had to work with him to change shirts and to change his glasses, because he loves everything that is familiar, because familiar is comfortable. But you're not just getting comfortable for the sake of getting comfortable. He gets comfortable because he can perform, right? So he performs his best when he feels safe, when he feels okay, when he feels stable. His brain loves that. Your brain loves it too. Our brains love familiarity. Okay. Our brains love familiarity. And so the way to overcome any doubt that you would have in your mind, as far as you can control, The way to, there goes a tile right there that I need to fix. Real time, right? It'll get fixed, I promise. Oh, and that's another thing. I asked Shankar, why are there things that I have been wanting to do? Why is it so hard to take your own advice sometimes? Because I'm not making my brain feel safe. I have hair that I need to braid. I have YouTube. I have live streaming backgrounds that I need to fix. I have like huge projects in the house, and I just see it like this huge avalanche. Like I see it like it is El Cap, like Alex Honnold did. Like, no way am I friggin' climbing that. But what you have to do is make habits and take that huge project, that huge mountain, and see it bit for bit for bit, chunk it down. And one thing I asked Shankar, like, how do you perform on such a high level? How are you so consistent? How do you make your brain feel safe? How do you continue to like thrive even in what would otherwise feel like very uncertain times, because we have so many changes happening right now, regulation in Congress, and we have like all of these economic situations, and we have like all of these crazy things going on. I'm just going to turn on some music for myself, and hopefully you would appreciate it too. So I'm asking him, like, how does this happen? Like, how do you deal, right? And he said it's the small things. Like, I only use one tool, like, for certain things. Now, because I'm thinking in my brain, I know a tool that's way more powerful, that does way more things at one time. And he's like, getting away from the distraction, just being as basic as possible sometimes. We can sabotage ourselves because we overwhelm ourselves. But one tool for one thing, or one tool that does a lot what he needs it to do, right? And if you DM me, I'll actually tell you what that tool is. And the other thing that he does is he has like tabs, right? Like bookmarks in his browser that correspond to the order in which he does his work. So he has a workflow that is conducive. He makes his environment. I think we all should make our environment, right? Like, there has to be a way where we feel safe, where we feel certain, where we're not activating every part of our brain that would signal danger, threat, unfamiliarity, uncertainty. And a lot of that has to do with just taking on too much at once. So if you break it into chunks, you familiarize yourself with it again and again and again, day after day after day, I have a feeling that all of the biological signals that would otherwise be firing are not going to try to protect you in these outdated ways. Your biology is going to work for you, but you have to work with it. You have to do the work. So, and that is best done every day, right? So the thing about Alex Honnold is that he writes in his journal, his climbing journal, every single day after every single climb. He writes in his climbing journal what went right, what went wrong, where to kick his feet, where to do this, where to do that, right? And this kind of journaling helps you biologically feel safe. Just try it. See how you can rewire your nervous system or reset it in just 90 seconds. And so we're going to say, I have some mantras for us, because I didn't want to leave you today without a way to understand you're not broken. You're literally wired for safety. And the goal isn't necessarily to not feel fear anymore. It's to become so precise that you feel safe in your success. Okay. So we're going to say some things that would combat the fight, the flight, the freeze, say some things that would combat, because if your nervous system could talk, I'm pretty sure it would say such things as, Like freeze would say, I don't trust the outcome yet. Slow down and build safety. Fight would say, I'm trying to protect you from losing control. That's why you go into fight, because it wants to protect you. So it needs clarity. You got to anchor that clarity in before you act. And flight would be, something feels too big, break it down, right? Break it down and regain some agency. That's the reason why we're just flying away from things, fleeing. It's too big. It's too big. So make it smaller. Break it down. Let me know if any of this resonates with you, by the way. If you're overthinking, there's a lack of rehearsal here. Remember, I told you how much Alex Honnold rehearses? There is a lack of rehearsal here. So you need to simulate that feeling over and over and over again. Some of the best speeches in the world, or even the people that we have seen that we really admire, we really don't understand how many times they've said their speeches. They're not getting up there winging it most of the time. They are rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing. So then there is no overthinking. So they simulate it until its effects fade, until there is no threat. If procrastination could talk to you, it would say, I can't move until it feels safer. If you're wondering, why am I procrastinating? You need to regulate and then revisit whatever it is that you're trying to do, because your nervous system is telling you to procrastinate because it doesn't feel safe. If you're overworking, believe it or not, that is actually because you're telling yourself, if I stay busy, I won't feel the panic underneath, right? So your real skill is to rest in that case. And lastly, shut down. So if your body shuts down, what is your nervous system saying? My body is protecting me. Well, that's what you need to tell it. My body is protecting me, but it's saying system overload. Power down. Come back when we can hold this down, right? So let's say some regulations that help. Okay. And I'm going to say this in a way where it sounds like code. And that is intentional, because your nervous system is code. You're coding your nervous system. Okay. So I'm going to turn on some music again. Let's take a deep breath. Hold it. Let it out. Do it again. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold. Let it out 4 seconds. Hold 4. Breathe in 4. Hold 4. And out. Hold 4. Breathe in. Hold 4. Breathe out. Okay. I don't need to move fast. I need to move real. Stillness is not failure. It's recalibration. I'm not here to win. I'm here to land. Clarity moves faster than force. I am safe enough to stay. Running won't give me relief. Repatterning will. Approval is not my oxygen. I return to myself before reaching for anyone else. This isn't a logic problem. It's a lack of prep problem. I trust what I've rehearsed. I'm not lazy. I'm unregulated. That changes now. Small moves count when they're clean. My pace is not proof of my worth. Rest is a skill I'm now mastering. My body is protecting me. I listen without judgment. Slow is forward. I return when I'm ready. So remember, if you're freezing, it just means that the outcome doesn't feel safe yet. Just remind yourself that stillness isn't a failure, it's you recalibrating. I hope you have enjoyed this session today. Tomorrow we're starting at 8 a.m., but it is going to be musically driven. So it'll be a work with me session for 2 hours. Sounds like a lot, but it's just 2 rounds of 50 minutes. And on Saturday, I'll try again to go live using my DJ skills, because why in the world should we have to wait? So why should we have to wait until another COVID to do something that we absolutely love? We shouldn't. You should do what you love now, whether that is, playing around with code or doing something you never otherwise would have been able to do because you didn't have AI and automation now to help you, or you didn't have the time. Just go for it. And even if you fall on your face, it's okay. Get back up, do it again. Do everything again until you're certain. Do everything again until your amygdala isn't lighting up with activity, or your basal ganglia understands where the habit is supposed to be, or you have confidence in yourself. Thanks again for tuning into the stream. Please make sure you do go to AndreaFerguson.com. And if you're interested in anything that I said regarding the healing at your local, or you want to meet us, and it's one of the places that we travel to, we're going to Barcelona next week, then please DM Shankar, connect with him. It's Shankar Ponsalé is his name. I will actually write a banner for that right now. And lastly, if you are interested, let me see. There we go. So at Shankar Ponsalé, connect with him. And if you want to grow your wealth digitally, you're interested in crypto or learning about Bitcoin or anything like that, then you absolutely have to go to mycryptoalliance.com. Sign up, get on our mailing list, subscribe. Maybe I'm throwing too much out there at once, so it's time for me to go. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.